What is up, all you GBA type people? This is Tom. I'm here to bring you guys my Week 3 match against John and the New Orleans Pelippers. Now, if you have any questions about the team, what I brought, or why I brought the mons that I did, please check out the team builder that I uploaded yesterday. Going over the team, we know from yesterday, I had a lot of confidence going in. A lot of the mons I brought were very, obviously, pivot focused. Has really been the motif for most of my matches so far this season, 2 of them. Knowing John's team, his team is very bulky. If you ask me, I didn't say this yesterday, but his team is probably one of the most well-rounded, I would say, because it has a fair amount of offense, has a good amount of setup. I mean, Z-Chomp is very threatening. Mega Diancie is a problem on, and he has a lot of things that can either pivot or live a lot of hits, whether it's through AV, whether it's through just being bulky with leftovers, you know, whatever. Or in the case of Piloswine being a Violite. So, looking at his team, I mean, I knew what my game plan was going in. The mocks definitely helped me. I knew pretty much what my game plan was. The one thing that I did, and this is kind of a side note, I really studied what exactly my leads were going to be and what his potential leads could be. So looking at his team, first of all, we see the 6 that he brought. We brought Piloswine, Tornadus T, Cresselia, Tentacruel, Hariyama, and Garchomp. So we don't see Mega Diancie. That's the first thing. So that means that holding on to Scissor really is just in order to chip down Tornadus in the late game. It does a good amount of damage to Garchomp. U-turn can be really nice against Hariyama and Cresselia. And then, of course, Bullet Punch can really do a good amount of damage to Piloswine. And I can bring it in the case he wants to go for Ice Shard against Landorus, trying to revenge kill it. Tentacruel there is kind of a wild card. I expected why he'd bring it. Like I said, it offensively checked Scissor. Did a really good job at stopping Alamola, especially this set, only carrying water and ice coverage right in its tracks. He can go for Toxic, he can set up 2 spikes, things I really don't want to deal with, so Roam's going to be my primary switching for that. Hariyama, like I was thinking yesterday, is going to be an AV mon, and it's really nice to pair in order to take on Mega Houndoom, so that Cresselia doesn't get pretty much baited and beaten by Mega Houndoom. Garchomp there, kind of going to be a problem. I expect it's going to be a Z user just based on his team. It's his only Z user, and it looks threatening, and it's going to be one of my primary things I need to get rid of, like, sooner rather than later, because I can't really let it go for a Swords Dance. Don't really want it. I don't have any fairies, so I don't want anything on my team to take Dracos. And I got to figure out what it is, whether it's physical or special, sooner rather than later. Then we have Tornadus, which I had 3 leads that he could have in mind, and that's either Jolteon, Tornadus, or Piloswine. We see he has 2 of them, and he's going to end up leading off with Piloswine, but I also suspected Tornadus, so, like, pretty much, unless he brought Jolteon, I was just going to lead off with Swellow, because I didn't really see anything else that really wanted to lead out. Was going to lead Landorus, in case he led off with Piloswine, Tornadus outsped, Scissor, same thing. I didn't want to show the Scarf on Rotom. Alamola just has no business leading when I can just pivot into it. And Mega Houndoom, again, also just gets outsped and gets kind of beaten by both those mods, especially if Tornadus is covering Superpower and it's a Life Orb set. So I'm going to lead off with Swellow. He's going to lead off with Piloswine. Going into this match, I'm so excited. The prep I felt really confident on. I really felt going into this match that I kind of had a really good idea about how this team was going to work, how I knew where I was going to pivot, what I was going to pivot on, what the matchups I needed to have in my favor, what I needed to take out in order to effectively just put this match in my favor. So I'm going to start off with being Swellow. I'm changing the name now because that's a much better name, and based on all like the old bird, the cockatiel vines, I just love that nickname. It's better than the older one. So I was gonna switch out because I really don't want him to go for Ice Shard, because if he did, and he would have did maybe like kill percent based on if this thing was like adamant, but I expected it more to be like max HP, max defense, impish. He's gonna go for rocks. I'm just gonna go out in Alamola, and right here I'm gonna expect a switch out into Tentacruel, because I pretty much expected that this thing would Tentacruel would just hard stop anything Alamola wanted to do. So instead, he's just gonna go for Toxic, and this kind of sucks just because of the fact that now Rotom either 1 needs wishes from Alamola in the long game, or 2, I need to dump off the Choice Scarf and get maybe a leftovers or cripple something sooner rather than later, so that this strat with this doesn't get wasted. Now, I didn't necessarily think Toxic at this moment, but I see why he went for it. Toxic here pretty much stopped Alamola from being a bulky Wish Patcher for the long game, and I'm kind of glad I switched. Maybe I was a little bit too overambitious with thinking that he would go right to Tentacruel, but it's not like I could Toxic, anything Especially I couldn't toxic Tentacruel. And Alamola really doesn't have any business taking on Tentacruel as it is. So right here, I'm just gonna say fuck it, and I'm just gonna go and dump off the trick. I'm gonna give him the Choice Scarf, and this is both good and bad because now rocks are pretty much up to stay unless at some point I get knocked off by either Tornadus or finding out if this Hariyama is carrying knockoff to get rid of the Choice Scarf. Or I'm sorry, the Assault Vest. He has a Choice Scarf now. But we see here that I am faster, meaning that this Hariyama is not running the same amount of speed that John ran when he faced Aaron in Week 1, where he ran 172 Adamant, should have outsped my Rotom based on my speed investment with the Choice Scarf, obviously. So we see he's extremely slow, and it also allows me to go into Tornadus here. Or, sorry, not Tornadus. He goes into he's going to switch out, not into Tornadus. I go into Landorus, and I get the Intimidate off, so the knockoff really doesn't do a lot, especially because of the fact that I know for a fact that, you know, the Fly in EMZ doesn't show that I have an item, so it's just going to do regular base knockoff damage, not the boosted damage, assuming I have an item. So, before we go into what happens on this turn, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, he brings in Garchomp. I knew he would do that because nothing on my team wants to take anything. In addition, I know for a fact he's not going to go for another knockoff because letting me get to +2, especially if he goes for another knockoff, knowing that he is choice locked, means that I can just set up on him, and anything that comes in here is not going to appreciate a Z-Fly. Or if it's like, you know, ground DMZ. So he does outspeed me here. Now, there's really only one of two ways that he knocks me out here. He has to be a naive, you know, special set with Z Draco or Z Outrage, and pretty much he has to go for either of those, and he has to be like very, very highly invested, and he has to based on the roll that given to knock me out here. So I have enough bulk to live a +1 Z Outrage and I believe a Z Draco from about 75%. I'm at 71% right now, and the rolls for either of those range between 64% to 75%. So the rolls, if he's max special attack Z Draco, he knocks me out. But if he's Z Outrage, like I kind of expect, I pretty much live this base, except a super high roll. I believe it was 16 numbers on the rolls. I had 10 numbers, based on my HP that were like the lower rolls, and if he got a very, very high roll, he would be able to knock me out. I know that's a very roundabout way of explaining that. So he's going to go for Z Devastating Draco here, and I'm going to find out whether he's Outrage or Draco Meteor right now. We see that he goes for the move, sorry for the skipping there, and doesn't knock me out. But that means now that he's gone. He's just dead. That means now 2 weeks in a row, I've gotten 2 kills with Zealandorus. I'm loving this thing. Really just doing a great job at just knocking out whatever it is I needed to knock out. The bulk here definitely helped. And I don't know what he is, physical or special, but I know that the bulk that I invested in the build definitely ensured that this thing is deadsies. That feels so nice to see that thing drop. Now, this also means that regardless if this thing is physical, special, whatever, he now has not very many setup sweepers. Garchomp being his biggest problem offense mon, that's not a pivot mon like Tornadus here, means that my team now just has to play it very straightforward, get the matchups right, get the predictions right, and I really have no reason to not win this in the long run. We see here he goes for knockoff. We don't see Life Orb damage, so I expect here that he's Assault Vest. He's going to go for U-turn, which again is something I've heavily expected Alamola to get a lot of U-turns in the face. And kind of a fun fact, this thing has been crit every time by Tornadus, whether it was my mocks or now we see in the match. So this thing might just become a crit sponge in the long run as the season progresses out. I'm going to go for Wish, and 100% going into Rotom. Whether he goes for T-Spikes, whether he goes for maybe Sludge Bomb, whether he goes for Toxic. I'm ready Toxic. We see he goes for Acid Spray. Very strange move. It does a good amount of damage, and I know I do have some good HP to take a lot of moves. But the Wish puts me back up to pretty much full. Toxic is just gonna take out minimal HP. I am going to Volt Switch here. If he goes into Piloswine, I'm just going to follow it right up with a Hydro Pump. Instead, he goes into Hariyama, and I'm just going to Volt Switch right out. This allows me right here to go into Swellow. I know for a fact whatever comes in is just going to get destroyed, because basically I activate my Guts right here. We're going to see here whether he has Fake Out, whether he has Bullet Punch, and if he has neither, this is just a free kill with Facade. He's going to go for Bullet Punch. This is going to do a good amount of damage. Swellow, again, is running a pseudo-bulky set. like I do every single week, just because I want to be able to live some sort of some priority based on the opponent's mons. In this case, you know, Pilot's Wand, if it has absolutely no offense investment whatsoever. But like I expect, I'm going to knock out Hariyama, which does ensure that I now have gotten rid of two very offensive things, two things that my team doesn't like switching into. The plan is going very, very well so far. I'm going to go into Rotom. He's going to go for an Ice Shard. I could have went to Scissor here, but I did not really want to draw in Cresselia. I think the rolls weren't really... They couldn't 2 a KO, especially if he was max HP and max defense. So I'm going to go to Rotom here, and I'm going to predict him just to switch out. I have absolutely no reason to go for Hydro Pump. I know for a fact that he does not want to, at this point, because Swellow still is chipped down, but it's still alive, and because Lando's still alive, he has to keep that alive for the Ice Shard. I'm going to Volt Switch right out, and like I expect him to not stay in. And I'm just going to, you know, Volt Switch out, and I'm going to get in the Scissor. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again, because I thought the same thing. He is in kill percent from a banded BP, and I'm going to go for U-turn, expecting him to go on a Tentacruel. He had Piloswine, he had Tentacruel. At that point right there, I expected that he would not stay in, because I figure he can't allow Tornadus to die there in the case I went for banded BP. He brings in Tentacruel, and this is very important. That U-turn damage shows that he is absolutely no defense and no HP. If he does, it's very, very minimal. So in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if he's not max HP, he's not max defense, that U-turn should have did between like 35 to 40%. We see that did upwards of like 50%, and that was with the banded U-turn or resisted hit. So this means that this thing is an offensive set, which then allows me to immediately, you know, go into the mindset believing that this is immediately a check for a non-Rock Polish Landorus T. So that means that this thing is fast. This thing is probably enough speed investment to outspeed base 91. So that means that this outspeeds Rotom. It also means that I can knock it out here with Volt Switch. If he goes into Piloswine, I just go for Hydro Pump. But it shows me now that he can't take 2 Bullet Punches the next time he comes in. So that means that Bullet Punch from now on is pretty much just going to be a revenge kill on whatever I choose it to be. Whether it's Tentacruel, can't take 2. Cresselia can take 2. But if I switch out into Houndoom, he pretty much... he has to switch out himself into Tornadus, because I can just shut down Cresselia just based on how I'm saving Houndoom for the later game. So this is very good information I'm getting here from Tentacruel. This means that this is probably going to be a pseudo-offensive mon. We never really saw an item yet on this, so I assume maybe it's like a Shukaberry to take an Earthquake and then knock out Landorus with like a Scald or an Ice Beam. So here he's going to go for Giga Drain, and because of the Assault Vest that I took, so in a way I'm kind of glad I took the Assault Vest. The bulk investment that I put into Rotom would not have allowed me to live that Giga Drain. We see he has Giga Drain, we see he has Acid Spray, and then I kind of assimilate that he had Scald and Ice Beam. I'm going to go out here, and Volt Switch out, because I knew he probably wasn't going to Piloswine, and if he did, like I said, Hydro Pump is a thing. I'm going to go for Bullet Punch. I know for a fact it knocks us out. No reason to overpredict. This is going to draw on Cresselia, and he already knows that I'm banded just based on that U-turn damage against the Tentacruel. But this allows me to bring in Houndoom. I am going to be able to Mega Evolve, and I am going to be able to kind of showcase the set, because I am up 6-3. Actually, I'm just kidding. I'm eventually going to go into Houndoom. This was just in case he was a T-Wave set. This was just so that if he did, or if he went for like Psychic or HP Fire, I can just get knocked out by the Toxic damage and the rocks. So he is going to go for Sub, and I know I was a little ahead of myself, but this allows me to bring in Houndoom. And I'm just going to Mega Evolve, and I'm just going to go for Taunt, and if he tries to stay in, say he has T-Wave, say he tries to go for Calm Mind, thinking that he can get at least 1 up behind the Sub, I'm going to shut that stuff down, and I'm going to try and ensure that this Houndoom works the way that I intended it to. He's going to go into Tornadus T. He is going to, you know, be immune to the taunt because he is AV, as I could pretty much tell. I've seen 3 of his moves. I don't know the 4th. So we've seen Knockoff. We've seen U-Turn. I assume he has Hurricane, but he could also have HP Ice or Heat Wave. Based on the fact that he switched out against the Scissor when he was at 50%, I don't think he has Heat Wave, because I think at that point in the match when I had knocked out Hariyama and Garchomp, I think that he probably would have gone for Heat Wave there, trying to get back into the match, knowing that Scissor is such a huge problem. We see here he has Superpower, and if I believe that for his last move, if he doesn't have Bird Stab, means he, like I said, I don't think he had Heat Wave, he has Hurricane. So that means that I'm getting all the information that I need just based on what he has showed so far. I'm going to go back into Alomola. It's now 4-2? Yeah, 4-3. So I've lost 2 things, but I know for a fact that I'm still capable of maintaining control based on the mons that I have left, knowing that Swell's in the back, Scissors in the back, and I can go right here for liquidation. And we see here that that is a lot of damage. That's not even a crit. Like, we're talking non-investment liquidation. This thing is very offensive. This thing is probably a lot of speed to outspeed Mega Houndoom, and probably, you know, some attack and special attack investment. No HP, so it's not bulky AV, it's offensive AV. So I'm going to go for another liquidation. I get a defense drop here. And this pretty much ensures that he can't sub up in my face, which I think was his intention, what he was trying to do. But I also know for a fact that I'm not staying in, just in case he has like Moonlight, or, you know, he just starts Calm Minding. I don't want to try and switch on a predicted move because I haven't seen anything yet, and I want to just try and get Houndoom in here and just go for damage. I'm gonna go for Super Fang in case he tried to switch out. I think right here maybe he goes in a Piloswine, maybe he goes in Tornadus again, knowing that he did it last time. I know for a fact that I've seen 2 moves already, being Calm Mind and Substitute. If he has T-Wave, that means he only has HP Fire or Psychic, which he kind of needs both of them for Scissor and for general coverage of my entire team. So I know for a fact that seeing 2 moves, I don't need to necessarily worry about T-Wave like I did in my mocks. I'm going to go for Super Fang. I'm going to get a lot of damage off on this Tornadus. I thought right here I'm just going to let him knock me out with a Superpower. So I'm just going to go for Dark Pulse. And if he tries to bring Cresselia, it's going to do super effective damage. I know for a fact he's not Cold Burberry. And if I go for Dark Pulse here, it's going to do a good amount of chip damage to this Piloswine. I am going to go for Super Fang on the follow-up. This is going to knock me out here to Earthquake, meaning that Piloswine gets 2 kills, 1 to the Toxic and 1 to the Earthquake. So he's not in a terrible position, but I have chipped down all the things I need to chip down. Cresselia, if I let it get out of hand, or I let Swallow get knocked out, he can beat me. But with Piloswine low, this allows me to go into Scissor, and nothing can take 2 bullet punches. But inversely, I think to myself, I could also go for U-turn here. I say that because he's within U-turn percentage. I believe U-turn was doing upwards like 41 to like 46%, I want to say. And bullet punch was a definite KO. But if he tried to go out in Cresselia, based on the fact that he was at about 50%, maybe, you know, he was at good HP. Or if he tries to go out in Tornadus, trying to get that regenerator, a little bit more HP back. I know that a banded U-turn will do a solid dead to Cresselia. It'll knock this thing out, and it'll ensure that I still have momentum bringing this in if he tries to bring Tornadus in against Scissor, which then would allow me to get into Swallow and know for a fact that something dies. And if he tries to keep Piloswine, but lets something like Tornadus die or Cresselia die, Scissor just wins because Bullet Punch or just U-turn, because he can't knock me out. I know all 4 of his moves. I saw Earthquake, Ice Shard, Toxic, and Stealth Rock, which means that Scissor in the long game wins, or Swallow wins if I can knock something out, or if I can knock out Piloswine right here. So I'm going to go for U-turn in case he tries to bring in Tornadus. We see that he stays in, just goes for Ice Shard, meaning that Piloswine is down, and this pretty much means that I've all but locked up the match, assuming I don't choke here, which is a large possibility. It's happened before, especially with me. I'm going to go for U-turn. I'm going to knock out Piloswine. This means that Swallow now has free reign to knock out Tornadus because it is faster, and Cresselia I can get a lot of good damage off of. If not, knock it out if I get like a crit or something. But Swallow's in. He's going to bring in Tornadus, and I know for a fact that I outspeed. He is in kill percent because if he, like I said in my team builder, if he's under 87%, Facade is a KO. I'm not going to go for Brave Bird because I feel like if I can live the next round of burn, it would put me down to about 4 HP. And this means that I can then go for, I can get really, really solid damage off on Cresselia. John here is going to go for a sub. I'm just going to go right for Facade. What I think in his head is that he expected me to go for U-turn, because if I went for U-turn, it would allow me to get into Alamola. Potentially I could beat it that way. But if he got behind a sub, that would require me to go into Alamola, and he could start Calm Minding and potentially beat me. Like that was how I could have choked right there. And if he was behind a sub, that means that Scissor would have had to go for 2 BPs or a U-turn. He can go for HP Fire at the range I'm at. I'm definitely dead to an HP Fire. Instead, just go for big damage with the Facade. He can't sub up, knock him out with Bullet Punch, and boom, baby! We won! I beat John. Holy shit. Oh, holy shit. Finally, the demons have been conquered. I have been trying and trying and trying to not spoil anything, to not say anything, but holy crap, finally we did it. I got a nice win against a divisional opponent. 2nd divisional win. But this means right here that I got a very necessary win. I got to conquer my demons. John no longer has my card, and I have brought a team that I prepped with, I planned well with, and I dominated. Not dominated. 2-0 win. It's a win. If you guys know anything about me, I don't go for big wins, but I go for good wins. And you know, getting a W is more important than getting a 6-0 in my book, in my own personal playbook. So maybe that bites me later on, but I'd rather catch that W than catch a W with a potential L trying to get big differential. Later on the season, okay, fine, I'll get some differential if I have the means to do so. But for right now, getting a W against a divisional opponent, against someone who I've had the hardest time beating leading up into this match, I am so happy I beat him, and I flipped the fuck out once I beat him. This felt really good. Sorry, John, you played, you know, really well. I think that this was a good showing for me. I know that John has been kind of on a rocky start, you know, catching an L from Mono and myself. I love you, John. You know, you're a good friend of mine, but I got to beat you, man. I had to do it. I know that, you know, he is still going to be a force to be reckoned with in our division. You know, we have probably 5 or 6 people in this division that are going to compete for playoffs. We have Mono, myself, and John. Necro needs to start catching up if he wants to, you know, stay in the race. Same thing with Aster. I know both of them have the capability of getting wins. Chimp, Gator, and Wolfie are going to be the other problems in the other division. So I have to get W's against them if I want to catch, if I want to ensure that I get the spot for the wild card, or my goal is division leader. So, holy shit, win. Nice win. So happy. I'm sure you guys are excited. I know I blew a lot of people's pick'ems out because I was definitely the underdog in this match. And I'm showing people that I am not a pushover. Now, that being said, taking this W, moving it forward with some momentum, and I have Chimp next week. Holy shit. Chimp, right now, based on the 2 weeks, just the first 2 weeks, he's 2-0. And he has Gator this week, so one of them is going to be 2-1. The other one's going to be 3-0. If Chimp is 3-0, I will probably be an underdog again. If he's 2-1, this will be a very close match, and I'm going to bring you a great match. Be excited. I'm excited. Let's go Sharpedos. I'm going to show my goddamn grit this season. You guys better be excited. I'm excited. As I said way too many times already. That's it. I'm going to go. Leave your comments down below. Let me know how you guys think I played. I am sure I'll get some props, but probably still like be kept in like the 6 to 8 range because I only beat John and he's been struggling and there's better people, and I've already talked to Vernabe about this. And yeah, that's the match. I will see you guys next week. Oh baby, I'm so excited. Anyway, that's it. Bye.